Welcome back, Cars Love Nation, to All the Cars I've Loved Before, your podcast where we talk about life lessons through cars and the cars that you've owned from the beginning of your life straight to the end. Sometimes, as in today's episode, cars become a business. But not to bury the lead here. All right, so as we move through season 3, and everyone's battening down for the hurricane. I am on Florida's Gulf Coast, so counting lucky stars as well as boarding up the windows will be in my near future. Yes, we move into autumn, but everybody's out there. Stay dry, stay safe. Keep everybody in your thoughts who's in Big Bend in Florida as we move through this week. And you look high and dry up there, partner. How you doing?
Good. But I will say for the next 5 days, I think it's going to be rain and gloom. Not a hurricane, but
yeah, exactly right. My son in your neck of the woods fall. Has said the same. Yeah, for sure. He's going to college in your neck of the woods. Yeah. So as football is upon us,
indeed,
we mentioned before our downloads keep increasing, our outreach extends. My name is Christian. You can reach me at Christian@carsloved.com, cars plural loved.com. He is at Doug@carsloved.com, carsloved.com. Also, check us out online at carsloved.com. All sorts of features, polls, pictures. You can dive deeper into the episodes. And as we always say, call to action. So please get involved. This show, we get everybody from auto royalty to your pal at the tailgate who has a story about cars, to your local Cars and Coffee, people who say, hey, we'd like to be a part of what you do. So, hey, feel free to reach out. Check us out at carsloved.com. Feel free to email Doug or myself. Yep. And let's see.
Yep. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, and if you know somebody who's would have a great story, maybe it's not you, maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's your dad, right? We'd love to have family members. We had a sibling episode. We had a husband-wife episode. We're going to have a father-son episode shortly. Just drop us a note. There's a form on our website, carslove.com, or just shoot us an email. As Christian said, we're easy to find.
Yeah, that's well put. And when you go to your podcast streaming platform of choice, I always go and follow the shows that I'm interested in, go to your favorites, and then when we drop a new episode, we cue to the top, and you're able to never miss anything, get involved, and feedback crucial. Download the episodes also. We appreciate that. And let's see, I think that's all the housekeeping. Really excited about today's guest, and I will let Doug do introductions. But it's going to be a great time when this is how your guest bought the house he's in right now. Picture, if you will, real estate agent and our guest here today roll up on this house, and he sees from the outside, I think, a 3-bay garage. He pokes his head inside, and he says, "Let me sign." Real estate agent says, "Well, you haven't seen the kitchen. You haven't seen the bedrooms. You haven't seen anything." He says, No, the garage is most important to me. And that's when you found a true car guy. And as we look at him on today's, we have video just so that we can see our facial cues as we talk. And he is from one heck of a garage automotive museum, if you will. And I will lead the formal introductions over to Doug, but very excited about who we have today. So how did you come upon this gentleman?
Yeah, so of course I own a DeLorean, and through friends of the show who've been on the show, I found out about rentdelorean.com, which was started by Andy McFly. McFly is not his real last name, but it's pretty good. And Andy gets people together. He does events. He's located in the Midwest, but he has a community of DeLorean owners, myself on the list as well. And if there's an event he can't do due to his time or location, he reaches out to a DeLorean owner. That's how I found out about him, from Brian Paoni, one of our guests from season 2. And it's always full circle, because Brian and Andy know each other. The world keeps giving, but Andy took. I love the fact when somebody can turn a career, whether part-time, full-time, turn their love into a career. And if you can make people happy, even better. And,
triple play.
I think that's what Andy does. But, I want to give Andy a chance to introduce himself, because I can't give him full justice, but I'm happy to have him on.
Welcome, Andy.
Thanks, guys.
So tell us a little bit about, should we start with the business, or should we step back into the literal time machine and go back to Andy's first few cars? How would you like to start, Andy?
Well, that I own a time machine, so let's go back in time to my first
Love
car.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
So the year
please
is
continue. Yeah.
1996, Andy?
Yep, that sounds about right. I graduated high school in 97, so about 96, end of 96. I got a job at a grocery store. My mom would take me back and forth until I hit about 18. I got my permit when I was 16, took my time until I was about 18, got the actual license. So I got the hand-me-down 1985 Chrysler LeBaron.
LeBaron, cool.
And that was my first car as a late teenager. And that car taught me some things, because it had some holes in it and it needed some love. But being that I knew that I needed to get back and forth to work, back and forth to my friends, whatever, I learned how to change oil, keep your eye on the tires, and little maintenance things like that. So that car, it was a clunker. My house that I grew up in was kind of on the top of a hill.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know what? It didn't feel like getting up that hill. So literally I had to, gun it to get up some of these hills and stuff. But I learned a lot from that car. That was a really cool car. In fact, it was, like I said, it was my first car, and I was a big comic book hero fan. So this was back in the American Online days, when you hung out with your friends and then you came home and you logged on to American Online, and everybody had their own little, their fake name or whatever. So I was the Flash. And I painted on that side of the car. I would never do this today as an adult, but when you're a teenager, whatever. So I painted the Flash symbol on the side. So my buddies and we always called it the Flashmobile.
Nice.
So the artistic streak in you and a bit of the rebellious streak in you comes out early. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. Now, so that car got me from point A to point B. I remember my first job at a grocery store, and then they, paper plastic, and apparently I was too good at that. So I remember one day the boss came and said, "We're putting you in the meat room." So I, worked in the butchers and stuff, and I was basically their cleaning guy. I had to go in after school. I went to school and then straight to work. But that car got me back and forth, from home. And then Saturdays, I remember it was 6 a.m. was starting time. So I don't remember if it had a heater or not. If it did, it didn't work. But in the winters, in Pennsylvania, it was cold, so I was just happy in the morning that it started.
And that's what I was thinking when you said, and you've really been all over the United States, kind of crisscrossing back and forth. But when you said Pennsylvania and
Pittsburgh,
iffy heat,
Pennsylvania,
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've also heard a rumor that maybe this car had the option package that didn't include a floorboard, or
so the passenger side. I remember if I wanted to see the street, think Fred Flintstone here, I would lift up the carpet and boom, there was a big hole, and I literally, sometimes I've had the thought that, if I can't make it to my house, I might literally have to put my foot through the floor and push, but
Little,
luckily
yeah.
it never came to that.
Or at least if you had a date, the date could help, right?
Just be careful, honey. Don't put your foot through
No
the
such
floor,
thing as a free ride, my dear.
Well,
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. So where did this car come from?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was my father's mother's car. So she
Gotcha.
was probably getting a new car and stuff. So it was kind of a hand-me-down. So I think my dad threw $300 for this car that just, again, your first car, I got to know what a dipstick was. I figured out where to put the gasoline. It was not, kids today, they've got all the bells and whistles, and they don't realize how important it is to understand that there's no such thing as wiper, or what do they call, blinker fluid. You ever see those jokes that you go in and ask for new blinker fluid? When you have an old car like that, you learn a lot about cars. There's a lot more than just putting your foot on the gas. There's a lot more that goes on.
And why is $300? I've bought, either bought or had bought. $300 was the magical price in the 80s and in maybe early midnight. What is with that?
That's a good question.
Not one for price
I don't
control.
Ask my dad. Yeah. It was just, hey, we're going to give you this car and whatever. It's Andy's first car, so good luck.
Yeah.
That was my first one.
And 300 sounds a lot better than 299. So
sure. Yeah.
Right.
So that was the first car. Had that for years.
What happened to that car? I think there's an interesting story, and maybe it ties into the Flash. I don't know.
So from what I could recall, my mother's mother was selling her car. It was a little bit better. It was an 89. What was it? An 89. What did I write in Buick Century. That's what it was. Yeah.
Sky blue.
So it was a little bit sky blue. So it was a little bit of an upgrade. The windows actually had power windows. So we got rid of the old car. I was constantly having to pour oil in it and keep it, just keep it going. So I think my dad must have just sold it to somebody he knew, or I can't remember exactly all the technicalities of it. But he found out about a month later that the gentleman who bought it off of him, probably for $100, $200. I can't remember exactly how much he sold this thing to him. He found out about a month later. I think the guy took it to let's say an O'Reilly's or something. And the teller said, excuse me, sir, your car's on fire in the parking lot. So he looked out. It already had so I had already kind of washed my hands of the thing, but it was, like I said, it was a clunker, so I was living it up in the 89 car with the power windows and stuff. And I took that car to college.
Nice. Yeah. At least that car had the good sense to self-immolate once it had left your garage. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
It was a flash fire sale, if you will.
Flash, there you go.
Dump. And but the Buick lasted you some time in college.
Yeah, right? It introduced me to what cars are made of and stuff. So I and it's a shame back in I don't have a lot of pictures of it, but I wish I would have taken more. It was a fun car. It was an old. The interior was red, like velvet.
The velour.
85. Yeah, it was just, and I had a CD player that was detached. So if I wanted to play CDs, I had to use the cassette to put it into the cassette player with the wire that's connected to the CD player. So I thought it was pretty cool. Listen to my old, early 90s bands.
Oh yeah.
Every time it hit a bump, it would skip. It would skip. But I remember I used, just tape or something to just kind of keep it in the center console, so I was taking a turn or whatever.
Resourceful.
Yeah, so that's what we had to do back then.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
So that was the 85. So then when I went to college, I took the 89 to college, and then I've had that for a couple of years, and then I literally totaled it. Learned real quick that yellow lights mean slow down, not try to speed. So I got T-boned and completely destroyed that car, and that killed me. No, I mean, sorry, it didn't literally kill me, but it hurt that I was carless. I was living on the Penn State campus. So my parents are like, well, you're carless, like not our problem,
Wow.
so I had to bike everywhere I went. So I lived off campus. So I had to bike back and forth to college, campus, Penn State. And I remember I worked all throughout my college career. But yeah, riding a bike really changes your, hey, yellow mount lights mean slow down. They don't mean try to speed up. And, but when you're, I guess it would have been 20, 21, I don't remember. You learn a lot more about adulting, that your
Yeah.
parents aren't going to just keep throwing cars at you, so that was it for a while.
Great. So how does your dream car was it at that point in your life that you sort of started to kind of in your mind revisit what you had wanted, or maybe there were a few more cars, but it's very interesting to me when people fixate on a certain car and then by hook or crook get there. So
1989, Back to the Future 2 came out. And I remember seeing it in a drive-in movie theater. And so I was about 10 years old, and I realized I need to own one of those cars someday. And, when you're a 10-year-old, you can dream big, but you don't realize there's money attached to the dream, So at that point in my life, I knew I needed to own a DeLorean. It was just, that's the car. That's the one that I think about all the time. So my best friend growing up, he was a sciencey guy. I was kind of the outside Marty McFly guy. So we had the Doc and the Marty, and that was just my relationship with still to this day, my best friend. We met each other, I think, in first grade. So years and years later, we still talk on a daily basis. But he was the Doc and I was the Marty. So it kind of like, he was always coming up with ideas on, creating a device that could do this, that, and the other, that kind of thing. So it was like, it just kind of falls into place with the whole time machine thing. And then when you get older, obviously you have adult money, you can buy adult toys, so that's where kind of the DeLorean kind of landed in my brain. Like, this is the coolest car ever. And it's interesting. So when people say, are you a car guy? I am not. You can ask me lots of questions about Ferraris and Lamborghinis and everything. I don't really know, but I know my car. I know the DeLorean. I know the DeLorean community, all that kind of stuff. So am I a car guy? Yes, to one car. I don't care about anybody else's.
And so how did you procure it? So how did you take the dream and then really commit to making it reality? How did that happen?
It was kind of a negotiation. So back in 2006, I think it was, I was living in Las Vegas, and I really wanted to get to know the DeLorean. And I went on the internet and looked up the local DeLorean club. Well, there were only about 3 guys in the club. And I messaged them, emailed them and said, hey, can I just hang out with you guys on the weekends? Tinker on your car, hang out with, just be in the presence of a couple DeLoreans. Sure, come on over.
Awesome.
Every other weekend I'd come in and hang out with these guys, So then Craigslist at the time, because we didn't have Facebook Marketplace or anything like that, a DeLorean pops up. These guys send me a message, Andy, you need to get this car. Now, this is pre-marriage, I'm living in a hotel, or not hotel. I'm living in an apartment. I'm a school teacher. I'm not making any money, but I got to get this car. The guy said, yep, let's do it. So I got this car. I had it for about a year, DeLorean. And I felt like I was in over my head financially. I could not keep up with this thing. And one of my friends at the time was having a birthday party, and it was in January, I think it was. And he's like, yeah, come to we're all meeting here. So I, of course, got to bring the DeLorean down. And at the time, I was using my credit card to fix this, to fix that, fix this, whatever. I bring the car down and it's cold. And I brought it to this birthday party, and I open up the door and the handle cracks off in my, because it's plastic, and cold and plastic don't do well.
Yep.
And at that point I thought, all right, well, there's another thing I need to fix. Came home, realized it was $300 some just for a handle. You can't buy one, you got to buy both. left and the left and the right. And that was the decision. It was like, well, you know what? I can't afford this. I'm going to get myself into more and more debt. So that's when I put it up to sit for sale. Sold that car, and it hurt, when the truck came and it brought it over.
Sold the dream.
And it went actually to, if the owner is still out there, he lived near Allentown, Pennsylvania. So this was in Las Vegas. So the truck, it wasn't a FedEx truck, but some kind of a big car hauler truck came, took it away and left. And I just thought, a piece of my heart just gone. But you know what? The dream was still inside of me. So a couple years later, another one popped up, and actually that original club that I started hanging out with, the guy that ran that club, this was his car. So this car was the car that's sitting behind me is the car that I first sat in. I never sat in a DeLorean before.
First DeLorean.
His car was the first car that I ever got to sit in. And just like many other DeLorean people that get in their car for the first time, I got in, sat in. Oh, I love this thing. I got out, banged my head really hard on that.
Been there.
Never did it after that, because I learned my lesson. But he put it up on his Facebook, and it said, "Time to say goodbye," one evening. And I thought, whoa, because his car was beautiful. I mean, he worked on it every single weekend.
You knew the car really well.
I knew that car, and I knew the owner, and I knew that he took care of it. Because many DeLoreans, they sit for years and years and years, and everything's rotting. No, I knew that this car was good. So, I messaged him up, and I said, "What's happening?" He's like, "Well, I'm moving. I'm getting married. I'm kind of, I'm over it," kind of thing. And I thought, well, so we talked, and I said, let's keep it in the family, the friendship world kind of thing. So at the time I was married, I told the wife, I said, "I'm really thinking about getting this. However, I'm not going to just buy a DeLorean to drive around and look cool. I want to start a business with this." So I kind of proposed to her that this wouldn't just be a car that's going to sit and look cool with, but it's going to actually be a business. So that's when I kind of thought, I can rent it out. I can rent this out to 80s parties, birthday parties, corporate events, whatever, big parties, events that happen today are 80s parties. When I was growing up, a lot of people were having 50s. Now everything's 80s parties. So what's the icon of that era of the car, the DeLorean? So I thought I can start to try to, so I started looking for every car show that I could find in Las Vegas, free car shows, just to get my name out there, just to kind of get a name for myself. I showed up to some scary car shows, like biker car night, biker night, and some rough stuff, and I didn't have, it wasn't all time machined up. It was all stock DeLorean. So as an art teacher, I just had to use what I had, and I grabbed some pool hoses and some cardboard. I mean, it was janky. It was really just scary. But you know what? That's all I had. That's all I had to work with. So I try to make it look a little DeLorean time machine-y, because that was my thing. I loved Back to the Future. A lot of guys out there, some guys, they buy the cars because they look sexy. That DeLorean looks sexy without the whole lights and sounds and whistles and all that kind of stuff, which is totally fine. But when you take it to the gas station, people aren't going to ask about the gull wing doors. They're going to ask, where's the flux capacitor? So that question came up so much that I thought, I need to make this into something that looks like something from Back to the Future.
Well, that's so interesting that you have made this car. You make your living by your art. And this is a piece of performance art. I'm looking at it right behind you. It is a striking. It totally is. It's your creative talents, your passions, your dreams, and
so as a teacher, I'm also a bit of an actor. You have to get up, you have to perform in front of students and all that kind of stuff. So I'm an art teacher. I teach K through 5. So that's 5 to 6 year olds up until about 10, 11 year olds. So when I am performing, teaching in front of kids, you're an actor. So with this, when I do events, not all the time, but I love doing Doc Brown. I will get up in front of people, and just recently I did Back to the Future, the musical came through Minneapolis, and they were here for 2 weeks. So for 3 different times, I was able to bring the car down and perform in front of the public. I have the Doc Brown outfit with the hair and all that. And great Scott, what are you doing over there? That kind of thing. So I enjoy that because in our community, there was a man, his name was Paul Nye, passed away almost a year ago, I think. I can't remember. But he was kind of one of the inspirations for me. Anytime he did an event, he did a lot of events with kids present. He was always mindful of who his audience was. He was a DeLorean time machine owner. He would show up. As soon as he would show up, there would be kids that were coming up to him, and just want to see the car. And Paul got out, and he was Doc Brown. And there was no swearing, there was no drinking, he was in front of kids performing, and it was so sad when he passed away, but what an inspiration he was. He did lots of events for he was a big with the what was it called, Cannonball Run, I think it was called, but he did a lot of things with missing kids too. He did lots of charities and stuff with searching for missing kids and stuff, but he kind of, he started this. So when I do an event and stuff, Paul is, in the back of my mind kind of thing. But he literally, he grew his hair out too. He never did the wig. He had his hair. So I'm kind of letting, I'm not there yet. I got a couple grays, but I think I'm just, let it grow out and just be the Doc Brown, because people love that. I've done events with, because I'm not a sports person. I'm a bit of a nerd, dork and stuff, so I never really got into sports. So when I do events for sports things, I did something for the hockey team here, the baseball teams. They'll park me on the concourse and stuff, and I'll dress as Doc Brown. And when I did something for the hockey team, hardcore sports people would come out with, see the car and Doc Brown. Did they get a field goal yet? That kind of thing. And people looking like, what's wrong with this guy? But again, it's Doc Brown. He's not a sports guy. He doesn't know his thing. And that's kind of me too.
Yeah.
So,
and you're throwing yourself in the part.
Yeah. I'm playing the
acting.
Part. Acting. Yeah. So, but that's what I got.
Is there a, how long have you been doing the Rent DeLorean?
Officially 2012.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yep. My first car, I did a couple events here and there, but I didn't really know the DeLorean community yet. So I started reaching out to the community to try to rent out their cars, because, there's nothing like getting your car out in the public eye and getting a little money for it. I've gotten a lot of flack sometimes through some community members who think, oh, you charge for somebody sitting in your car? Well, you know what? It's nice to do what you love, but it's also nice to be able to pay that electric bill.
Yep, and it helps pay for parts.
Yep, parts, everything. It does. This car's paid off
Keeps
a few
the dream
times.
alive.
It's paid itself out a few times, and it's enjoyable. But
was there any event? I know this is a hardball here. Was there any event that you did that really, just
hit me?
You can't forget, right? It's like it really, it might have been your 10th event, it might have been your first, it might have been your 100th, might have been last week.
I believe it was a birthday party. I believe the kid was 8. And I showed up. This was in Las Vegas. I showed up with this hunk of bolts behind me. And this kid, like I said, about 8 years old. He was dressed as Marty McFly. His favorite movie in the world is Back to the Future.
Oh, wow.
And he had like a cochlear implant in it, and he was very hard of hearing. So he had a little bit of a speech impediment and all that kind of stuff. And, I have 3 boys. I've been blessed. They're healthy. That kid had some issues, health issues and that kind of thing. And when he showed up, and when I showed up, and he just lost it, like the DeLorean, all this stuff, I started bawling. It was powerful, because here I am dressed as a fool, dressed in the Doc, doing the whole thing. And here's this kid. It was very powerful. And I let that kid get in the car and touch any button that, because it was like, kid, I made his year. And all I did was never forget that. This thing, and he'll never forget that. And I still have his photos with me. And this was, like I said, good Lord, this had to be about 2013, 2014. And that was one of the events that I will always stand out because, I mean, I made his parents happy, but those are the kind of events that are huge. I don't even remember what I got paid. I don't even remember if I did get paid. I don't really care. But that was a big deal.
Yep.
Powerful.
And
Powerful,
it stuck with you.
Yeah,
and,
it really did.
We put you on the spot, but I probably said before, that first event I did, just seeing how happy people were, just to see the car, like, and the line, I would have done it for free. It was so awesome. It just made my day.
I mean, honestly, the trilogy, hands down, in my opinion, is the best trilogy ever written. And it's a movie that a teenager or a kid could watch today, and it still makes sense. You know, a kid goes back in time and hangs out with his parents. Like, that's something kind of cool to think about. So it's not like it's a movie that you would watch today that'd be like, that aged terribly, you know, because there are a lot of 80s movies like that didn't age well, but Back to the Future aged very well.
The perfect story, perfectly told.
And Bob Gale came home, saw his dad in his dad's high school yearbook, and he's like, my dad was kind of cool. Maybe I could travel back. That's for the inspiration for the story. Yeah.
And the neat thing is, like, kids that, this was an 80s movie. So you have adults now sharing them with their own kids, and then they get to see this, and that's what I'm doing with my own kids. We just watched all 3 movies recently, and then I took them all to the Back to the Future, the musical. And it was really cool to see your kids see, because they don't call this, my kids don't call this the DeLorean. They know it as the Dada car. They called it the Dada car. That's the car that they remember, is the moment they could see. It was like, this car's been in their life. So they don't know. I mean, they know a DeLorean, but they know Dada car. And they also know all the toys that I have and stuff are my toys. They don't touch those toys.
They've learned.
They have their toys, and I have my toys.
Oh, man.
So let's see, is doing all these events, and sometimes they're corporate events, sometimes they might be a Comic-Con, I'm sure. Have you met anybody from the original movies?
So I've had first Jennifer Parker, Claudia Wells. I've given her in Las Vegas. I met her, and I got her a ride in the car and stuff. We were doing a big charity event, and that was kind of cool. This past summer, I finally got to meet Christopher Lloyd. So Christopher Lloyd, many people don't know Christopher. I'm a Star Trek fan, big Star Trek fan.
Ditto.
Christopher Lloyd played a Klingon in Star Trek 3.
Correct.
So every year I try to fly to Las Vegas. When I lived there, I used to go every year. Now I live in Minnesota. I try to go every year to the Star Trek convention. Christopher Lloyd was there this year. So I finally was able to meet him, but I didn't just meet him dressed normally. I love cosplaying as a Klingon, but this year I cosplayed as a Doc Brown Klingon. So as an art teacher, I made a Klingon headpiece, but I had white hair hanging out all over it. And then I walked around with a flux capacitor shirt, like a paper, and I would do the whole Doc Brown impersonations as a Klingon. And it was fun to see people get it. If you know that, oh yeah, Christopher Lloyd played a Klingon in Star Trek 3. So when I finally got to meet him, it was one of those, okay, I got his autograph, but I'll never forget when he looked up at me, because Christopher, I don't really know his age. He's up there. He looked at me like, what is wrong with this guy? Because I'm in full Klingon, white hair, the whole deal, but it was cool, to finally meet Christopher Lloyd, this guy that I impersonate all the time, that I do events, under just thinking about him and stuff. I've never got to meet Michael J. Fox. I'm not in the right place at the right time. I think that would be awesome. And I really love to meet Biff, Tom Wilson. I've watched a lot of videos on him. He is just a great human being. And so I haven't, but Harry Waters Jr., he lives in Minnesota. And when I first moved here, he was the gentleman in Back to the Future 1 and 2 who sang Eartha Angel to everyone. So that actor actually lives in Minnesota, and I believe he's a professor for a theater school or something. So we did an event when I first moved here. I got the whole DeLorean club, Minnesota club, to do an event with him. So he's the other guy, and he was awesome too. Just super nice. I love when you meet an actor who knows that the only reason they're famous is because of their fans. So they're very thankful to meet the fans. So they're not standoffish or anything like that. But that's about all the celebrities that I've met.
Yeah. Well, that's fulfilling your dream in others, right? And then meeting these people that they're part of your childhood, right?
I've already told people, this is kind of morbid, but I already told people there's 2 celebrities that I know that I'm going to be taking a sick day for, just to kind of, I can't believe he's back. Christopher Lloyd is one of them, and William Shatner. When those two go, then okay, I need a day. I need a day of mourning.
Yep, I've thought the same about Bill.
Yeah, so, he's up there, but the man has been to space, so
yep,
he's awesome.
Yep, he's the captain for sure.
So as we conclude here, Andy, is there what's one thing you'd like everybody to know about your business that maybe they wouldn't think?
When I meet a lot of young people, I'm around, in my profession, I past years I've taught high school as well, and I'll bring the car in and show them and stuff. And some kids think that what you see is impossible. And I go back to, like, how do you have that? How do you, all that kind of stuff. And I go back to the Back to the Future theme of, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And that's really a true theme to live by, because if you're 17, 18 years old, and you see something like this, you think, that guy must be a billionaire and all this kind of stuff. And no, I started collecting. I was a fan since I was about 10, 11, 12 years old. And I had it in my mind, I'm going to own one of those cars one day. And you just have to push on with that goal, Yeah. And now that I have it, it's like, okay, what else can I do with this thing? I don't want to just have it sit in the garage all day. I love sharing this thing. So as a side note, I actually have so I'm also a Doctor Who fan. I have a Doctor Who TARDIS outside of my house, and it's a little free library. So if you've ever heard of a little free library.
No way.
So when you open it up, there's a whole library in there. And then there's also a geocache. I don't know if you guys know what geocaching is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I put that up, a gentleman found me on the internet and said, hey, can we put a geocache in there? And I said, sure, what's a geocache? So him and I have become really great friends. We put this geocache in there. I have a camera in there where I can speak to people, because people come to my house all the time just to geocache or get books. Well, I have a Ring camera in there. So when I talk to them, I kind of feel them out and say, you know what, so I'll go on the camera and sometimes I'll mess with people that are in the box, and I'll say, who is open? Who is awake in the TARDIS? And they'll, oh, somebody's in here. And I'll ask them, do you realize you're standing in a time machine? Yeah, okay, Doctor Who, whatever. And I ask them, would you like to see another time machine? And then I'll bring people over and they'll check out the garage. And I always ask, just give me some favorite points, because so far, because of that, from last we checked, my TARDIS geocache has become Minnesota's #1 favorite spot for geocaching.
Wow.
So
you are a marketing machine, my friend.
I'm always trying. Yeah. ABC, always be closing. That's one of the things I learned. But I love entertaining guests. I've met so many strangers, so many complete strangers. But again, as a teacher, you have to become a people person. So you never know who's showing up outside. But the TARDIS is all out there, and it's full size TARDIS. It lights up at night. I forgot all that, but
I will say you have met your calling, and your calling has met you. I don't know if you guys have got to check out his business, rentdelorean.com. Great website, by the way. Been checking it out here as we speak, and just one of the coolest guys out there. Andy is an art teacher at the elementary level. He has a TARDIS little library. He has a dream car that makes dreams come true. He didn't give up on a boomerang dream. And as you say, if it can be conceived, it can be created. And that's a great message, and that's powerful. So I just want to thank you for taking time, Andy, and being on the show. I had a great time getting to know you.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, there's so many stories there. And, that boy probably won't forget the birthday party, but you won't either. And I'm thinking about it. So,
hey, as Doc said, your future isn't written yet, so make it a good one.
Yep, exactly. Amen. Well said.
I like that. I like that.
Yep, Christopher Lloyd. Great job.
Well, that's another episode in the books, partner. So again, thank you to Andy. Check out rentdelorian.com. Go there immediately. Great website. Lots of fun. Charismatic leader in Minnesota area. Who knows? Stop by and check out the little library and the geocache.
Yep.
That brings us
rentdelorian.com. Cars all over the U.S.
Yep.
Yes.
Not
exactly.
Just Minnesota.
Another good point. Check it out. It is all on the well-appointed website. So we will get this up as quick as we can. We will link to all of his website, resources, social media, etc. from ours. So all you got to do is go to carslub.com to get all the information you need to about rentdelorian.com or check us out on your podcast streaming platform of choice. This is Christian. He's Doug. I'm Christian at carslub.com. He's Doug at carslub.com. Thanks, Andy. Take care. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.